Hello everyone. I just want to make a super quick video showing you how to connect to an IP camera or essentially a security camera with OBS. It's very easy. You right click on sources and add a media source. Now you want to point that to RTSP colon, and essentially here is your username and your password of the IP camera or security camera at the IP of its location. And this is pretty much the easy part. So this is pretty straightforward. The last bit is the port and the location of where the video. This basically tells OBS where to find the video coming from the IP address. The easiest way to find this out is simply just Google RTSP and your webcam type. There's tons of different websites showing charts and information on how to connect to this. And if you're not unlucky, just try a couple of different, for example, there are 3 or 4 different models of your camera and you're not sure which one it is. You can just try multiple settings here quickly and one of them should work. And that's really it. Once you turn it on, it will prompt you for a network authenticator. So you click OK, allow, and you should be good to go. As you can see, straightforward. The last bit is the how to connect to an IP. I just want to make a super quick video. And that's really it. Once you turn it on in like a Google Meet or Zoom, you can do this. There was no username or password, so you could try it without that. But basically at first showing a username and password, and as soon as I put that in, it worked. So
is Dave Gadvi fake? Is his webinar really changing people's lives? Is his Ferrari rented or does he actually own it? Is his story from slum to multi-billionaire fake? Has he really achieved all this in just 3.5 years? Is it really possible? You see, a lot of people have doubt and they watch all my ads for the first time and they wonder, who is Dave Gadvi? In this video, I'm going to answer all these questions for all of you. So, is Dave Gadvi really fake? You see, historically, people, whatever they don't believe, they start having their perception and belief about that. When people said that, you know what, there will be a time when people will be able to talk to on the phone, then wherever you are, you will be able to talk to people. They said, it's too good to be true. It's all fake. It's never going to work. Every time the new invention or innovation has happened, people resisted the change. If Dave Gadvi was really fake, why don't you do this? Why don't you do some research? Why don't you go to Amazon? Check out both my books. How many people actually have 2 best-selling books, which has more than 400, 500, 600 reviews, more than 4.2, 4.6 star rating? If Dave Gadvi was really fake, how would his mentees achieve so many results? And I can give you tons and tons and tons of case studies. So that is the second question. Is his webinar really changing people's life? Let me give you names. Vikas Agrawal, Somdatta Sarkar, Rakesh Rana, Umesh Imadi Shetty, Ram Babu Dantu, Shruti Deshpande, Anju Chaudhary, Fatah Khan, and there's so many, Sugita Madan, there's so many people who have changed their lives because of these webinars. This is funny.
hello everyone. I just want to make a super quick video showing you how to connect to an IP camera or essentially a security camera with OBS. It's very easy. You right click on sources and add a media source. Now you want to point that to RTSP colon, and essentially here is your username and your password of the IP camera or security camera at the IP of its location. And this is pretty much the easy part. So this is pretty straightforward. The last bit is the port and the location of where the video. This basically tells OBS where to find the video coming from the IP address. The easiest way to find this out is simply just Google RTSP and your webcam type. There's tons of different websites showing charts and information on how to connect to this. And if you're not unlucky, just try a couple of different, for example, if there are 3 or 4 different models of your camera and you're not sure which one it is, you can just try multiple settings here quickly and one of them should work. And that's really it. Once you turn it on, it will prompt you for a network authenticator. So you click OK, allow, and you should be good to go, as you can see back here. Now this is just kind of a cool feature. You can also start the virtual camera, which means now if you're in like a Google Meet or Zoom or something like that, you can share this IP camera on your call, which is just kind of neat. There's different things you can do this, what you can use this for. So yeah, just hopefully this helps someone. It really is very easy. It may be a little finicky getting the settings right. One of the other examples I saw, there was no username or password, so you could try it without that. But basically, at first, when this was not working for me, I found another guide somewhere showing the username and password, and as soon as I put that in, it worked. So yeah, there you go.
Passive income is a joke. Think about passive health. Think about passive traveling. Think about passive relationship, passive sex. There is nothing in this life called passive income. And this is a myth. And when I was starting my journey as an entrepreneur, everybody wanted to talk about passive income this, passive income that. But honestly, you should not look for passive income. Here's what you should look for. You should look for active business. You should look for active business opportunities. You should look for active skills. And when you have active skills and active businesses, you would be able to build a leverage income. What is leverage income? This is where you can leverage people, systems, and processes for money. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in a job. You're doing everything yourself. Do you have leverage? No, you don't. Are you growing? Absolutely not. This is why most of the people in 9-to-5 jobs, they get stuck doing the same thing like on a hamster wheel. Keep running, keep running, keep running. But पहली तारीख आती है, पैसा आता है, you get a money on the first date, but after 5 days, money is gone. Because everybody is looking at either passive income or active income. You should actually look for active business, active skill, and convert that into a leverage. This is what I did. This is where I started my business. This is why my mentee started business. They started growing their business not because of passive income. They started a business which is actively adding value to people. Now, what kind of business can you start? There are so many options. Even if you've never done a business, there's so many options you can start a business. But you know what? This short video, I can't teach you everything. Why don't you spend 3 hours with me where I walk you through step by step process of how you can take your passion and convert that into a real business. Click the link, join the webinar where I share with you all the secrets and all the processes, and there are thousands of people joining in. Don't miss this opportunity because it's not going to be open for long. In this webinar, I will teach you everything. Why India is a great place to start your business, how can you start, where you need to start, what is the blueprint, and what are the high income skills that you can build. Everything in one short 3 hours. You're going to learn a lot. Go ahead, check this out. I'll see you in the webinar.
Do you want to live stream your security camera feeds to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or anywhere else? Well, you can. Whether you have an IP security camera or even an analog system, in today's video, we're going to show you how you can live stream your security camera feeds using the free open source broadcasting software, OBS. A couple of months ago, we started a brand new private Facebook group for our dealers. On that page, we've been streaming various cameras around our offices via Facebook Live. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from that. I know people are really enjoying it, but we've also gotten a lot of questions on how we are doing that. Well, it's actually pretty easy, and in today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different methods for live streaming your security cameras via OBS. You can get started streaming your cameras right away with very little setup. And here is everything that you're going to need. First and foremost, you're going to need a security camera. Now, you probably already have this. If you don't, then why are you even watching this video? It doesn't really matter if your camera is IP or analog, just keep in mind the type of your camera when we get to the 3 different methods. Next, you will need a computer with an internet connection and relatively fast upload speeds. Now, the minimum upload speed here is going to be around 3 or 4 megabytes per second, depending on the platform that you're going to be streaming on. But the faster the upload speeds, the better. Next, you're going to need OBS installed on that computer. Now, OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software, and it's pretty much the standard for streamers everywhere. It's simple to use, it's got a ton of features, and best of all, it is totally free. So click the link in the description and go ahead and download OBS onto your computer. Next, depending on the method that you use to stream your cameras, you are going to need a couple of additional items. You're going to need either your IP camera's RTSP address, or you're going to need an internet browser, and for the third option, you're going to need a video recorder and an HDMI capture card. So how do you know which method is best for you? Well, let's find out. Like I've already mentioned, we're going to show you 3 different ways to live stream your cameras. The first way is a direct live stream straight from your camera using the RTSP address. The second option is going to be screen recording your camera with a web browser. And the third option is going to be streaming your recorder feeds with an HDMI capture card. First, let's talk about your RTSP address. This is probably the simplest method that is going to get you up and running in no time. RTSP stands for Real-Time Streaming Protocol. And what this protocol does is it allows your security camera to communicate with third-party devices and applications and servers. In our case, the third party is going to be OBS. And it's just a really simple and seamless way to stream your cameras. It's fast, it's easy to set up, and you don't need any additional hardware. There's no middleman, it's just your security camera and OBS. But there are a few drawbacks to this method. First, the RTSP feed really isn't that stable, and so you might experience some lag, especially if you're streaming at the mainstream. If it's like a 4K camera with high FPS, you're going to experience some lag and some low latency, and you might have some other video issues. Furthermore, this method only works with IP cameras. If you have an analog camera, there is no way for you to get an RTSP feed straight from the camera without going through a DVR. The last drawback here is that you're only streaming raw feeds directly from the camera. So if you have any intelligent events or any kind of markers on the screen, you're not going to be able to see that through the RTSP feeds. The next method is also really simple. This involves just pulling up your web browser on your computer, typing in the IP address and getting the live view, then simply just capturing your screen or that particular window and streaming that. This is another really easy method, and it's a good way for you to show off intelligent markers if you have something on the screen like Uniview's deep learning cameras, for instance. But this does take up more real estate on your computer. You won't really be able to use your computer if you are recording the full screen, but this could work if you just have a PC that is fully dedicated to your security cameras. If you wanted to pull this up and set it there for a while, you totally could. And the last method is going to be streaming with an HDMI capture card. An HDMI capture card is simply a device that connects to your computer and allows you to run an HDMI input directly into OBS. There are lots of options for this on the market, ranging from $20 to a couple $100. The one I'm using back here is a Hauppauge HDMI device. We also have an Elgato capture card floating around here. We use these quite a bit here for recording NVR interfaces, taking screenshots for blog posts. Since we already have these on hand, we do use them often for live streaming. With this, you can use either an IP camera or an analog camera as long as it's connected to a DVR with an HDMI output. And it doesn't take up extra real estate on your computer because the streaming is coming from your NVR. Once you've picked the method that you're going to use, we're ready to jump onto the computer and get OBS set up and ready to go. So once you click the link in the description below and download OBS, it will take you through a startup wizard that will help you adjust some of the settings based on what you're going to be doing with OBS. This is not a full OBS tutorial. There are plenty of resources all over the internet if you want to get a more full grasp on what this program can do. But just to get you up to speed, if you've never opened OBS before, this screen right here in the middle is the monitor. It's going to show us whatever is being streamed or recorded. Right now this is black because we don't have any sources. Which brings us down here to this panel, which is the sources panel. If we click the plus button, this is going to let us add a ton of different sources depending on what we want to be streaming or recording. All right, in settings, first let's jump down in here to the video tab. And you can see that we have our base canvas and our output resolution, as well as our frame rate down here. So right now we have the base resolution as 1920 by 1080. However, I know a lot of times we have security cameras that are above this 1080p resolution. Personally, I don't recommend streaming higher than a 1080p resolution, simply because most platforms are going to reduce the video quality anyway during a live stream. Plus, the higher the resolution, the lower quality the stream is going to be, especially if you have lower upload speeds. So I'm going to leave this base canvas resolution as 1920 by 1080, and the output resolution right now is also 1920 by 1080. If you have lower internet speeds, you can reduce this to something like 1280 by 720. And what that's going to do is take your 1080p video and stream it at a lower resolution. Again, the lower the resolution, the higher quality your stream is going to be, the less lag you're going to have. So unless you have really good upload speeds, I recommend switching this down to 1280 by 720. Now we have our frame rate down here. This pretty much is going to depend on the frame rate of your camera. You can choose anything you want here. If you're streaming a camera that is 30 frames per second, for instance, you can change the frame rate to 30. Next, I'm going to hop up here to output, and this is where we actually adjust the quality of our stream. We have two different modes here. We have simple settings and advanced settings. For this tutorial, we are going to stay here on the simple menu. So, bitrate. This is going to be an important number. This is the amount of data that you are streaming every second. So the higher the bitrate, the higher quality the stream is going to be, the less lag, all that kind of thing. But there are a couple of catches here. First, you're going to want to look up the bitrate requirements for whatever platform you're streaming on. Again, we stream mostly on Facebook, which does cap out at 6,000 kilobytes per second. In my understanding, this is true for most platforms, so I just always leave this on 6,000. Theoretically, we could increase this to 8192 kilobytes per second, which is what we typically recommend for 4K cameras. But in this case, when we're streaming to something like Facebook, that extra bitrate really isn't going to help us, and in the long run, it might end up hurting us. So just keep this at 6,000 unless you know that the platform you're streaming on is compatible with higher bit rates. But here's the other catch. We are going to need to keep our upload speeds in mind for this, because we don't want our video bitrate to exceed our upload speeds. For instance, I can have this at 6,000 kilobytes per second because my upload speed is about 10,000 kilobytes per second, or 10 megabytes per second. So before you set your video bitrate, you are going to want to run a speed test so you know exactly what your upload speeds are. That way, if you only have like a 3 or a 4 megabyte per second upload speed, you'll know that you need to keep your video bitrate at around 3,000 or 4,000 kilobytes per second. And now I will throw a handy chart up here on the screen so you can see exactly what your limitations are going to be if you do have to have a lower bitrate. Now, this is what we have found as acceptable configurations per upload speed. Your results may vary, so if this doesn't work for you, feel free to play around with these numbers a little bit. And while you're looking at that and crunching those numbers, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Okay, you guys ready? Feel free to pause it if you're still looking at that chart. Otherwise, we are moving on. I'm going to completely ignore audio bitrate here because we're not streaming audio, we're simply streaming the video from our cameras. If you do have a camera that has a built-in mic, then you will be able to pull that audio stream in as well. But honestly, just leave this at the default 160. You're not going to need anything more than that. And at the bottom, we're just going to click OK. So far, everything that we've done in OBS is going to be the same regardless of the method of streaming that you've chosen. Now, as we start to build up our stream and set up our media sources, this next part is going to be different for each method. So first, let me show you how to pull in your IP security camera's RTSP feed. The first thing we're going to do is come down here and click on the plus button to add a new source. This source is going to be a media source. So we will click that. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to name it IP Security Camera and click OK. And now we have the properties for our new media source. By default, local file is selected, but we don't want local file because we are going to be streaming via the network. Network buffering, we are going to turn this up to 8, and reconnect delay, we're going to turn this all the way down to 1 second. Feel free to check use hardware decoding when available if you do have some good hardware in your computer. Now we just need to add the input. Now this is going to be your RTSP address. The RTSP address is going to depend on the type of camera that you're going to be streaming. For instance, the camera that I have today is a UniView camera, so I'm going to type in the UniView specific RTSP address. And here is what that looks like. Now it may look confusing at first, but don't let this scare you. All you need to do is swap out those color-coded variables with your own information. Your username, your password, your IP address, your RTSP port, which I will show you how to find momentarily, and your stream. Most of the time this is going to be 0 for your main stream. However, you can also pull in the substream if the main stream is having video issues. The example there is what this might look like if my camera was on the IP address 192.168.1.180, and in this instance it would be pulling in the substream. We can also use the RTSP stream to pull in cameras off of an NVR. This is what that would look like for UniView. In this example here, we would be streaming the substream of the third channel of the NVR found on 192.168.1.180. Now that's UniView. At this time we do carry two other product lines, R series and H series. So let me show you what this would look like with those cameras. First, here is an R series camera. It's a lot simpler than the UniView RTSP feed. All you need here is your IP address, your RTSP port, and the number there for your stream. Again, 0 for main and 1 for sub. If you want to stream cameras off of an R series NVR, all you have to do is swap out that C1 with whatever channel you'd like to stream. Again, in this example, we are streaming the third channel. Finally, if you have an H series camera from us, or even if you have a Hikvision camera, this is the RTSP address that you'll type in. The only difference with H series is that instead of 0 for main and 1 for sub, our stream variable would be 01 for main and 02 for sub. And again, if we are streaming an NVR, we can swap out that 1 at the end for whatever channel we'd like to stream. And once again, in this example, we are streaming the substream of channel 3. If you have a camera from another brand, you can always try one of these to see if it works. If you're still having trouble, you may just need to contact your distributor to figure out what the specific RTSP address is for your cameras. So here is the camera that I'm going to be streaming today. I'm going to come in here and click Setup. I'm going to click Network and Port. Under port, we can see our RTSP port is 554. That's the default for most cameras. If you have an R series or an H series camera, it's probably also going to be 554, but it's always nice to double check. So in input, here is the RTSP address that I'm going to type in. First, and this is going to be the same for pretty much any IP camera, RTSP://. Next, we are going to add in our login credentials, which is, and then type in the IP address of our camera, which in this instance is 192.168.122. After the IP address, we're going to pop in another colon and type the RTSP port number, 554. Then /media/video1. And that's all that we need to type in here, and we are going to click OK. And there we go. Our RTSP was pulled into OBS, and you can see that since we do have a 1080p base resolution, in other words, this monitor right here is 1080p, we do have some adjustments to make because the security camera that we're streaming is higher than 1080p. So I'm going to grab these resizing handles here, and I am just going to drag the security camera down to fit inside this window. We're downscaling the security camera to 1080p, and then once we stream it, remember we did set our stream resolution to 720p, so it's going to downscale it even more. But now this camera is ready to stream. Let me show you another way of getting this camera in. So we're going to come in here to add media source. We're going to click display capture. Let's click live view and OBS. So you can see that I'm able to stream my screen here with all of the intelligent markers available. This does have the downside of taking up real estate on your computer. Again, unless you have a second monitor, which is nice to have for something like this. Or, as I mentioned earlier, if you do have a dedicated computer just for your security cameras, you could do that as well. But the way I like to do this is by streaming my NVR. And to do that, again, I have the HDMI capture card connected here. I have my NVR plugged into that capture card. So now I'm just going to add that capture card as a video source. And to do that, I'm going to click Add, come down here to Video Capture Device, and we can name this NVR. I'm going to click OK. And here we have the device set as the Hauppauge Sienna Video Capture Device. Whatever your video capture device is, you'll be able to find that here. And there we go. That is my NVR's interface popping up here. And I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to leave everything at the default. And now I can stream my NVR. So I'm just going to double click the window here for our IP camera, and that's going to make it full screen. Once I stop moving that mouse around, that little menu is going to go away. There we go. And now I have my IP camera streaming through the NVR. And because we do have those intelligent markers set up on the MVR, we are able to stream those as well. This is my favorite method of streaming an IP camera because I don't have to worry about the RTSP feed cutting out. This is a lot more stable, a lot less laggy, and easier to control. But again, while this is streaming, you can't really access your NVR from the HDMI interface without that showing up on the stream as well. So keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it. Depending on which method you've chosen, you are now all set up and ready to go. You can come in here to settings and to stream, and this is where you will connect OBS to whatever platform you're streaming on. Again, we have Facebook Live set up here, so we would pull our stream key in here, which changes every time, so we have to copy and paste each time we want to go live, and then we simply start streaming. I know this was a lot of info, so if you guys have any, always happy to help you out with stuff like this. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, it's Tyler from Nelly Security, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to set up an IP security camera system from start to finish. Now this might sound like a pretty intimidating topic, but by the end of this video, you'll see that it's not nearly as hard as you might think. But this is going to be a pretty involved video, so let me throw up some timestamps on the screen so you know exactly where we're going, just in case you need to skip around a little bit. And while you're checking that out, let me tell you a little bit about us. We are Nelly's Security, a supplier of security equipment like cameras, alarm panels, access control, and more. We are always posting about the newest surveillance technology, different CCTV tips and tricks, and other security industry related topics. So whether you are a professional security installer, just a networking hobbyist, or someone looking to install your very first security system, you're going to be able to find some kind of value on this channel. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across our other social media platforms as well, if this is the kind of thing that you're interested in. Now, let's go ahead and get started setting up this IP system. First, let's talk about the equipment that you're going to need. Now for this video, I'm going to be using UniView for my security equipment and IP Cam Power for my networking equipment, but the principles that I talk about in this video are going to apply pretty much across the board, regardless of the brand that you're using. The first thing you'll need is an IP camera. Now I have 4 of these UniView 4 megapixel turret cameras here. I'm going to be setting up a 4-channel system in this example. If you're not quite sure how many cameras you're going to need, be sure to check the description below because I will leave a link to some resources that will help you figure all that out. The next thing you're going to need is a network video recorder or NVR. Now in this example, again, I'm using UniView. It's always better for your recorder and your camera to be from the same brand. We will see why a little bit later. Just keep that in mind. Now if your recorder is a different brand from your camera, it's still going to be possible for those to work together, but it's just going to be better all around if these are from the same brand. Now you can see on the back of this NVR that it does have a built-in PoE switch. And what I mean by that is you can see these Ethernet ports here. There are 8 of them. This allows us to connect up to 8 cameras directly to the back of this NVR. I chose for an 8-channel here, even though I have 4 cameras, just to give us a little bit of room for growth. We definitely don't want to be limited after we install these 4